Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I'm with Aamina today. Welcome, Aamina.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad we're in this conversation. If you could wave your magic wand, get whatever you wanted with food and body, what would that be for you?
To be healthy and fit. I feel like those are my aspirations.
To be healthy and fit. Where are you right now in your level of health and fitness? Do you feel like you're not healthy and you're not fit?
I feel like I'm getting there, but I keep straying off track. And I think that's the issue that I'm dealing with right now.
So you're moving in a good direction and you get off track. So what would a good direction look like for you if you were being healthy and fit? What does that look like?
To eat wholesome, natural foods that really nourish not only my body, but also my soul. And I think also incorporating some daily amount of exercise and maintaining that.
Mm-hmm. Are you looking to lose weight?
I think for the longest time I was looking to lose weight, but at this point, I just actually want to feel confident in my body. And if that means losing weight, sure. But I think that's where I'm at right now.
So you're kind of happy with where you're at, but if you lost weight, you wouldn't complain.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. So you could have the perfect amount of weight that you could lose. Do you have an idea what that is for you?
Yeah, I'm going to say back to my high school weight, which was, I think, 10 kgs below what I am right now.
Okay. And how long ago were you at that weight?
Oh, probably exactly 10 years ago.
Okay. How old are you now?
I'm 28.
28. Okay. And where are you living? Where are you based?
I'm based in New Delhi.
Oh, how do you like it?
I love it here.
How long you been there?
I've been living here for 5 years now.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Where were you previously?
So I'm from Bangalore, which is a southern city in India, but I moved around a lot while growing up. So I lived in Lagos, in London, and Singapore. So a little bit of everywhere. And then now I'm back in India.
Got it. So what do you think throws you off from eating in a way and exercising in a way that feels right for you? What gets in the way?
So first with the eating, I love food and I always have loved food. And I think I also really crave specific things. And I feel like those cravings really throw me off track. And I also really love to cook. So a lot of the times I'm picking up really interesting ingredients that make me really excited about food and about cooking and about that whole process. And I really enjoy that, from cooking to creating a space for me to actually dine and enjoy that meal. So that's really special for me. But then there's this other flip side of it where I will just be like, oh, I really want that chocolate sundae from that specific place. And I know that it's horrible because it's all synthetic and I don't even know what goes into it. But yeah, and then that kind of throws me off because then I'll order it and I'll eat it. And another thing I've noticed about that habit as well is that I'm not necessarily just tasting it. When I order that craving, I'm kind of consuming the entire thing. And it's also, it comes from this guilt of, I shouldn't leave it to go to waste. And so I'll just finish the whole thing. And my body knows it's not good for me. And immediately after that, like the next day, I'll have a terrible stomach. And that's just a cycle that has been recurring for a pretty long time.
Fascinating. How long would you say that cycle's been happening for you?
I would say since I probably moved out and started living by myself. So that was 10 years ago.
So how often does that cycle enact itself? Meaning, how long might you be eating in a way that you want to be eating, where you feel good about what you're doing, and then okay, you reach for the ice cream. Like, what's the amount of days or weeks?
I think it really depends. I feel like maybe a few years ago it was more recurring, and I would fall into those cycles more often, and also they would last longer because I would feel like, oh, okay, I've already eaten this food for lunch, then maybe I can just have that pizza for dinner. And, it would just like go on. And so there's no really end to it until I have to just like read your book or do something that takes me out of that headspace. And then get into my zone of, okay, I need to cook and, be excited about eating good food. But yeah, I feel like it used to be a lot often before. Now it's gone down, and it would just happen for one day, and then I would trip, and then I would feel extremely guilty. And I think my body also feels that, which is why I immediately have a stomach ache and, reactions to also getting rid of that from my body. And so it's just, yeah. I would say it's a lot less often now, but I feel like it's also seasonal. Like winters, maybe a little more. During the summer, maybe a little lesser. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice anything else that might trigger the times when you reach for the foods that you wish you wouldn't have reached for?
Yeah, it's mostly in the night. A lot of the times in the night. Yeah.
And what time roughly?
Around the time I get done with work. So I would say around 7 or 8. And yeah, around that time.
Are you working from home?
Yeah, I am now.
So, and you're living alone?
Yeah.
So you're spending a lot of time with just you?
Yeah.
How is that for you?
I really enjoy being by myself. Yeah, I think that's something I always did enjoy. And yeah, I don't think I can live with anyone. I have lived with people before. I just prefer having my own place. And yeah, it's nice. I like learning about myself, and I like spending time with myself. And yeah, it's really nice.
Do you think you'll want to have a relationship at some point?
Maybe. I'm open to it.
Okay. In my country, I don't know about yours, we have this term, and I'm wondering if you've heard it before. We say the all or nothing mentality. So I'm either all in my great diet. I'm eating exactly what I want to be eating. I'm cooking. I'm eating natural foods. I'm taking care of myself. I'm a good boy. I'm a good girl. I'm just doing it the right way. And then something happens. And we eat a trigger food, or we eat a certain food. And after we eat that food, the cake, the ice cream, the chocolate, the candy, the junk food, whatever it is, then we go, okay, I'm throwing all my rules out the window. And I'm going to just, yeah, like you said, eat the pizza, eat this, eat that. And because I've obviously already strayed from my ideal diet, so might as well just give it all up and eat whatever I want until my body is just miserable or I'm unhappy. And I kind of force myself to get back into the zone again. So It's interesting because I think that's what's happening for you. And it is a cycle. It is a pattern. It is a kind of a rhythm. And what's interesting in my experience is that the all or nothing rhythm, I like to think of it as a habit. It's a habit of the mind. You didn't invent it. Like Aamina's not the first person to have this challenge. Of course, you're uniquely you and you have it for your unique reasons, but it shows up. And in my experience, we learn it from the world. We absorb it somehow, wherever we got it from, because we have in our minds, here's the list of things I need to do to be good boy, good girl, good person, healthy eater, healthy body. And then here's the list of things that's on the bad list. Don't do these. And, I think of the biblical story of Adam and Eve. As soon as the guy upstairs tells them, don't eat the apple, not too long afterwards, they're eating the apple. There's something that happens in the mind when the mind has its list of bad foods, don't eat this. There's a certain way that we're almost compelled towards those foods because the bad foods, the quote unquote bad foods, are often the foods that are fun, right? They're the food. Even though it's not healthy for you, the kid in you who had ice cream at some point and didn't care what the ingredients were, at some point in your life, you had ice cream, you had cake, sugar, whatever it was, you didn't care what the ingredients were. You didn't care about your health because as far as you were concerned, you were immortal at that point. And this really tastes good, so I'm going to just eat this. And you might not have had any repercussions that you noticed. So I think the all or nothing experience is a habit that we get into. It's a way of thinking. And I like to look at it as we are rhythmic beings. Like we love rhythm. You wake up, you go through your workday, you go to sleep. So the waking and sleeping cycle, that's a rhythm. We generally eat, 3 meals a day, maybe a couple of snacks. There's a rhythm to that. Your heart beating is a rhythm. Your brain waves everything is a rhythm. The 24-hour cycle is a rhythm. So we're creatures of rhythm and we want rhythm. And when we don't have a healthy rhythm, we'll choose an unhealthy rhythm. So I like to look at it as there's a time in the rhythm when you're very conscious. I'm eating what I want to do. I'm eating the way I know is best for me. And there's a moment where we go to sleep. Little part of us checks out. In order for you to go from all to nothing, from the good rules to the bad rules, a part of us has to check out. A part of us literally goes to sleep. Part of us turns off the light, and a different part of us takes over. Does that sound accurate to you in your experience when I say that?
Yeah, very much.
So how would you describe this part of you that takes over when you go for the ice cream or you go for the foods that you're not supposed to go for? How would you describe that Aamina?
I think it's very you're right. It's very live in the moment. I'm only alive now once in this body. I should be eating whatever I can eat. Yeah, that's the mindset. And then there's also an aspect that's very embedded in a scarcity mindset, being oh, I should finish this whole thing now because it will go to waste if I don't.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So when I hear that, there's a couple of voices. You have your own personal committee. So on the one hand, there's the good Aamina person who eats and cooks and does it naturally and does it right And then this other committee takes over. Part of the committee is, hey, I'm going to die someday. And like, let's live life. Let's have a good time. Let's party. A part of that voice is the rebel in us. A part of that voice, I'm going to call the teenager in us, the teenager who like, hey, let's just have fun. I'm young. I'm seemingly going to live forever. And it's okay. This is going to feel really good. And it's a rebellious voice. It's kind of a teenager voice. So it's interesting when you tell me, by the way, that you wouldn't mind having the body that you had as a teenager.
Yeah.
So right now, what's happening is a part of you goes into the eating consciousness that you might have had when you were a teenager, which is like, hey, can eat what I want. It's okay. This is fun. This is good. Got this one body, this one. Let's just go for it. And then this other voice jumps in that says, "Oh my God, you got to finish this. You just can't leave food on your table," which is really nice because it's this fun food that you just have to finish. So it's those voices are colluding to get what they want, which ultimately is instant gratification. There's a part of you, a part of me, a part of all of us. We love instant gratification. Like, I want to feel good right now.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting at home working all day and then I get off from work, and you mentioned that's your vulnerable time because you're in a transition. You're going from work Aamina to just Aamina. And, transition times are sometimes a little shaky. And part of it is that it's just you, and it's you and the people in your head. It's you and the voices in your mind. And once you're finished work, the voices in your mind that want to have fun take over because my work is finished for today. Like, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to say is the voice that takes over, the voices that take over and cause you to eat against what seems like your own will, those voices they're actually important voices in us. They're hungry for something. They need something. So there's a part of you that when you get off from work, you need something. A little fun, a little pleasure, a little celebration, a little bit of just letting that all go and let's party hard here. And partying hard might mean for you just eating something that goes against your rules.
Yeah.
So to my mind, what might be helpful for you is to start to ask the question, what else? What else can I do, particularly after work, that would give me the kind of transition into the next part of my day that would have me feeding that rebellious teenager in me that just wants to have a little fun and wants to have a little pleasure and wants instant gratification? What else is there other than food?
I like reading a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to watch YouTube videos, and yeah, I think that's majority of my time. And then, of course, speaking to my family. That's another part.
Mm-hmm. Do you listen to music?
I do.
Do you enjoy that?
Yeah.
Do you ever do any kind of movement in your house? Do you ever do any dance or yoga or stretching?
Yeah, so that's the morning routine, which is where I do my yoga and my pranayama, all of that in the morning. But in the evenings, I kind of leave that as like a downtime. I don't want to do any exertion.
Yes. what else? I'm just wondering, what else can you do after work that would feel fun and serve the part of you that even just wants to cut loose a little bit? What else could you think of?
That's what I do. I also cook when I'm not doing that. I end up cooking because I have to meal prep because I can't cook during the day. So I spend my evenings cooking and listening to music. So yeah, that's another part of it.
I also want to suggest, so the thinking here is just noticing that there's a transition for you from work to not work, and that transition time can be a vulnerable time for you. So just starting to be aware of that. And the other thing I want to suggest is to see how you can perhaps reframe. Here's what's good for me to eat. Here's what's bad for me to eat. Here's the foods on the good list. Eat the foods on your good list. Don't eat the foods on your bad list. What happens is when we hear that's a bad food, don't eat it. What we're really hearing is you are I'm a bad person if I eat that food. And that's why we feel guilty. And also a piece of the guilt is that we actually don't feel physically good after you eat a lot of food that just doesn't work for you. So your body doesn't feel good. You don't feel good. At the same time, I often find that for a lot of people, when they have certain foods on their bad list, it might be good to move those foods from the bad list to a new list. We can call that list use with discretion. Use with discretion, use in a certain amount. So maybe, I'm just suggesting this, see how it sounds to you. Maybe there's a way to incorporate some reward foods, some fun foods, some sugar foods, some ice cream foods into your day or your week, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, I don't know, such that you get what you're looking for, which is this part of you that's the rebellious teenager who wants to have a little fun, gets to eat something that feels fun to you. Maybe there's certain sweet foods that, okay, maybe it's not the complete artificial ice cream that you get drawn to. Maybe there's another ice cream that's more healthy for you, that you actually like, that does the trick. Maybe there's some other dessert, food, chocolate that you say to yourself, okay, this is going to be my reward food for the day. Here's how much I'm going to eat. Here's how much I'm giving myself. And you plan it. So you're not trying to keep it away and brace against it. So you welcome that into your life and give yourself the sort of, I almost want to call it a reward that you're looking for, that fun hit that you're looking for, but do it in a way that you're choosing to do it. Because in the all or nothing scenario, we're not really choosing, we're going a little bit unconscious.
Yeah.
So instead you're saying, I'm going to eat something sweet 2 or 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 days a week. 5, doesn't matter. It could be every day. Here's what it's going to be. And here's approximately how much I'm going to do. And I want to give myself this reward. And when you're eating it, instead of thinking, oh my God, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm going to feel so guilty, I'm going to feel so bad, you're thinking, I'm going to really enjoy this. I'm going to get what I want out of it, and start to balance out the all or nothing. So you're including some of those foods into your life, because otherwise they're just going to keep calling you, and they're going to keep pulling you to the dark side. Instead, you're just taking control of both sides, both voices in you, saying, okay, there's a part of me that might need to be fed some fun foods. How does that sound to you when I suggest that?
It sounds great. And I feel like I might have tried that in some way. And I would keep chocolate at home, and good chocolate, and, vegan and also delicious. But I would just chug it down. So there are no boundaries with it. And I think that that's what's really difficult for me. And like, even for example, there's this really delicious mousse that I make with cashew cream, and it's all homemade, and I love it. And it's so rich, you can't eat the whole thing. That I have boundaries with, because I literally cannot eat it. But I feel like anything from outside, I don't know what that trigger is, but if it's not made by me, I don't have any control over how much I'm eating.
Sure. Okay. So would this work? Is there a way for you to have foods that you don't prepare, that are the fun foods, the vegan chocolate, such that you only have a certain amount in the house? So even if you were going to cut loose, there's only so much you can eat. And that amount is actually okay for you. It's doable for you. Is that possible?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a way for you to see, the idea is to gain power, because right now what's happening is, for whatever reason, the food that's coming in from the outside, that's the fun food, that has a little more power over you.
Yeah.
It just, to you, it feels more powerful than me, such that I can't control this. So what I'm listening, and ultimately it's just a bunch of food. It's just a bunch of food. It doesn't have any power, and you can choose to eat it. You can choose not to eat it in an ideal world. And at the same time, we're human beings and we crave. We have desires. We crave and have desires that sometimes overpower us. And that's just part of the karma of being alive and learning how to best, this is really what you and I are talking about. We're talking about yoga, but it's really a yoga of mind and body. How do I be in relationship with food such that I'm making it work for me? And I'm regulating my emotions in a good way. I'm regulating my mind in a good way. And it takes practice. So as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that you're doing wrong. You're just a human being learning how to regulate your body, because your body has certain desires and cravings. And your body has certain needs. It wants to move. It wants to exercise. It wants to sleep. It wants to do all kinds of things. And you have emotions. And you know what? We tend to regulate our emotions with food, because it's very easy to do. And it's very quick and it's very instant. Oh, feeling a little uncomfortable. I'm feeling like I want to celebrate. Food. And we get that instant gratification, but it doesn't quite work. So all I'm saying is, the more you can discover your power with foods coming in from the outside, the more choices you can start to have for yourself. And the more you just have more mastery over your body and your experience in a good way. But it takes baby steps. And I think, again, one of those baby steps is bring in food from the outside, but just so much. Figure out how to do that. If it's at all possible. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, it sounds doable. And I completely understand the logic also. And I don't think I confronted the fact that it had so much power over me. And it's really great to hear that.
Yes. And it's really you and I just being in relationship with our experience. And we are eaters. That's just part of what we do in this life. We're also emotional creatures, and we're creatures of all kinds of desires. And, some of those desires that we have, we can fulfill instantaneously. You can go and get the food that you want to eat right away. And we get the short-term benefit, but, we're learning that there's certain desires that even if I gratify them short term, I get a long term or a midterm downside effect. So short term, it's good. After the short term, the consequences are not so good. So you're learning, okay, so how do I be in relationship with that? And rather than be in the all or nothing, well, I'm either going to just do it perfect or completely imperfect. That's very hard to do. That's an uncomfortable rhythm. So we're trying to create a more balanced rhythm, a more harmonious rhythm, where you're incorporating some of those quote unquote bad foods, or even we can call them trigger foods, whatever you want to call them, begin to claim your power with them. And it's a practice. It just takes time and experimenting and noticing, oh, wow, wait a second, here's me, and I'm about to go a little bit unconscious. Here's that voice that says, well, you just bought this ice cream, you need to finish the whole thing. And if you and I in the moment can catch ourselves and be a witness to that voice and go, oh, that's me having that voice again. Is that really true? Does this really work for me? In that moment, you're introducing light into darkness. You're introducing consciousness into a place where we're going unconscious. And I think that's the practice of introducing the light into the dark places, introducing awareness into the places where we want to kind of go to sleep.
Yeah. Strangely, I've done that as well. While I've had a chocolate sundae, I will do the breathing and I would devour it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does happen. Like I'm consciously eating this junk.
Yes. So I like that. And I like that you can laugh at it because it's a part of us, once again, that I'm saying we are learning to harness. You know, yoga is harnessing the mind. It's harnessing the breath. It's harnessing our ability to move the body. It's harnessing our emotions and just getting a little bit of a leash on it. So that's the practice. Yeah, there's this part of us because the body, in a strange way, it's like an animal.
Yeah.
We're mammals. So there's a part of you and I, we're different from the mammals because we have a certain sentience. We have a certain consciousness. It's not that animals are unconscious, but we have a certain something more. Animals are very instinctive. And when an animal wants something, it's going for it. And a lot of times what happens is that biological urge, that animal urge in us takes over. The animal urge to procreate, the animal urge to devour something, the animal urge of, wow, that looks good, I'm just going to eat it. And you're just learning how to be in relationship with that. And one of the ways is, yeah, you try to be conscious and, okay, here I am devouring this food. Even that's a positive step because a lot of people aren't able to do that. They haven't gotten to the step where, oh, this is me doing this behavior that I know is not going to be good for me, but let me just be the witness to that. Because the more we can witness it without judging it, without, oh, you're so terrible, Aamina, how could you do this? Such a bad girl, we need to punish you. No, you forgive yourself because you're human and we try again.
Yeah, I feel like also now in reflection of that, I think the times where I have consciously eaten junk food are the times where I don't feel as guilty or I'm able to continue on the next day with my cooking and I'm not tripping as hard. Mm-hmm. Whereas, yeah, it is a practice and it's not something that comes naturally. And I do have to kind of stop myself in that being like, hey, this is what's going on. You're eating this right now.
Mm-hmm. On a physiologic level, when you and I are in the moment where we're eating something and it kind of feels like we're driven, you're devouring this, you have to eat it. Nothing going to stop you. In that moment where we feel driven to eat, where nothing's going to stop me, the body is in some degree of stress response. Gotta eat this. Gotta do this. And it's literally a physiologic fight or flight response, because in that moment, some part of the unconscious mind believes I have to do this in order to survive. There's all this energy built up. So we're in a stress response. You are breathing shallow. You are breathing in an arrhythmic way. And the body itself is either in a fear or an attack response, or a combination of both, because we're literally attacking the food, but we're fearing not having it.
Yeah.
So the more you can calm your mind in that place, the more you can start to harness your breathing and breathe like a relaxed person, the more you come back into your body, the more you can exit the stress response, because it's the relaxation response in us where consciousness can center itself. It's the relaxation response where we have access to higher thinking, to creative thinking, to synthesis. Otherwise, we're in animal mode, fight or flight, when you're devouring that food. So the idea is the practice of consciousness, which oftentimes practically shows up as, oh, I'm in a stress response. Oh, I'm not breathing. Oh, I'm just long, slow, deep breaths. Even if you continue to eat, that's fine, because you're training yourself to relax within a moment, an experience that your body is believing is life-threatening. And gradually, as you get better and better at that, all of a sudden you have choice. Oh, you know something? I don't want to eat this. It's not going to make me feel good. Or, oh, you know something? If I eat a little bit, I'm going to feel good. Or if I eat a moderate amount, I'll feel good. And you can start to make those distinctions, because in the relaxation response, we have access to body wisdom. We have access to intellectual nuances. In the stress response, you just want to devour, kill, and unwind the stress response by eating the food, because eating the food actually is the thing that is going to help relax us. That's why we're going for it. We think, once I eat this, then I'm going to be safe. So that's all going on in the unconscious mind. That's all going on in our physiology.
Yeah, definitely. I can see what you're saying.
So what are some of the key takeaways for you from this conversation, even one or two?
I would say definitely to acknowledge more, or give more time to what I'm eating, even if it's from outside. And that's something that I already do, but I feel like to be aware of it at all times. And to also have moderation between, things that are maybe quote unquote not so good for me to eat, and to also in some way try and incorporate that within my strict routine of having good food. And so just blur the boundaries a little bit, because I feel like I'm also like that as a person, very in or out. And it takes me a while to get into the zone of being in the gray. And I feel like that's something I also need to do with food that I didn't think about. But yeah, I would definitely take that recommendation of having small amounts of things, because that will definitely help with the moderation.
Mm. I love that you identified for yourself, oh, the way I am with food, I'm also that kind of person in other places in life, all or nothing. I'm either in or out, black and white, and harder to get into that gray or more colorful zone, actually, where there's just more diversity in there. So it's good to see that because, oftentimes the way we relate with food is very similar to how we relate with life. So it's not just food lessons, it's about life lessons. And our relationship with food can often teach us that.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have had this conversation with you. I think you're in a great place, and I think you have all the tools that you need to keep really maturing and fulfilling your relationship with food and your relationship with your body and self. I think you're just well on your way.
Thank you so much, Mark. I really enjoyed your insights and this conversation. And yeah, just really grateful for this talk.
Thank you, Aamina. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. More to come, my friends. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care. And remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.